This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, find the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm Mac Pritchard, founder and publisher of Mac's List. We're celebrating today a big milestone at Mac's List. This month marks the 3rd anniversary of the Find Your Dream Job podcast. We've now recorded more than 160 weekly shows. Add the more than 50 bonus episodes, and that makes more than 200 programs in all. To mark this occasion, I'm joined today in the Mac's List studio by all my past and present Find Your Dream Job co-hosts. It's kind of a dream team here. Ben Forstag, Becky Thomas, Jessica Black, and Leila Ahara. We're coming together as a full team for this special bonus episode. We want to celebrate what we've created together and share with you, our listeners, what we've learned about job hunting from making this program. Well, I'm going to open up the mic here to the four of you. It's quite an accomplishment, isn't it?
It is.
I'm just impressed that you let me back on.
I'm excited. I love being in the podcast studio.
Yeah, it's like getting the gang back together. It's fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years though. That's a long time to be running a podcast and keep pushing them out every week. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for the processes you've all helped create, and particularly to you, Jessica, for keeping us on track the last 2 years. And Ben, you were here at the start, the very first episode.
I was. It was a little less organized than it is today.
Yeah, it was very spontaneous in those days, I think. Though I think there was only one time where we didn't have a guest 72 hours before the show. I think that was maybe.
I
6
recall
months
that there was a lot of hand wringing before that of who exactly were we going to be interviewing that day and what the show was actually going to be about.
Yeah, well, but we got through that, and we won't mention the particular guest. That person did a terrific job, and we're grateful that we had that person on the show that week.
Yeah. Any listeners can take a guess, though.
A lot of names to choose from. Well, one of the benefits of doing the podcast for us, both individually and as a team, is it's given us a chance to learn new things. And thanks to the show, we found out about new job hunting resources. We've had lots of listener questions, and we've had the chance, to talk to some of the best career experts in the world. So I'm going to open it up to the four of you again. When you reflect on what you've learned, what's your top piece of advice that you would give every job seeker? And this is a question we actually ask at the end of our monthly interview with people who have found their dream jobs. So, and you can have more than one bite of the apple. If you've got more than one piece of advice, that's good too. Becky, you're leaning into the mic.
Oh, I always am, Mac.
Yeah.
I think this is a great question because there's so many things that I've learned from being a co-host on the podcast and listening to it and just hearing from all the experts sharing their advice on all these different topics in sort of job search and career development. And there's so many things that people can do to develop the career that they want. But I think that my biggest piece of advice is to do something. Because I think there are so many options and so much different advice out there that people get paralyzed. And so
that's really important.
My advice is just it might not be the magic bullet that's going to save your career and put you on the right path, but just do something, take action, try it. And if it doesn't feel right, guess what? You get another chance. It's your career and you get to sort of keep pushing and keep learning things from every opportunity. So
and don't wait till you're ready because then you'll be waiting forever. So I like that.
Yeah.
Take action.
Yeah. So that's my thing. And the other thing, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times, is ask people how they see you and what they think you're good at.
I love that.
I've always gotten a lot of good information about myself that you don't necessarily know about yourself when you're sort of in your own brain and in your own body, how you come off or how you're communicating or, what skill sets you need to work on or whatever. So just don't be afraid to ask the people that you've worked with or just even people in your life who have seen you work. What do you think about me? What do you think I should do next? Because that'll give you good ideas. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, I guess I will go next. I mean, I'm still new to MaxList, new to the podcast, but I think in the short
But
time.
also fresh off the job search.
Very
so
true.
that might
Yeah,
help.
that is true. Yeah, so I came to it with that perspective, and I think just in the 3-4 months that I've been with MaxList and with the podcast, I've learned a lot. So it was hard to narrow it down to one little tidbit of advice, but
That's okay. Go
Yeah.
Tell us more.
I think that the one that resonated the most for me, just because it's something that I wish I would have known back when I was doing my job search, was having focus in your job search. And
really important.
yeah, I think we talked about this on the podcast recently. Like, don't feel like, oh, I have to keep all my options open. I have to apply for everything. I have to do 10 job applications a day. Like, really narrow it down. Think about what work environment you want, the culture, the people you want to work with, the people that you like, and, what you don't like too. And don't be afraid to narrow it down and really hone in on those specific qualities, because that's really going to help you. It's not going to hinder you or make your career. It's better to have it defined versus just be some nebulous, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to try to be everything to everyone, because that doesn't work.
I'll do anything.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I've heard a lot of our guests talk about
and
that.
I think we've all been there. I certainly have in my career. And I understand why people say that, but because they want to be open to new opportunities. But it ultimately makes for more work, doesn't it, Leila?
It does. Yeah, it makes more work for you and for the people who are trying to help you find a career, because if you don't have focus, they can't help you figure out what you want, because you need to know that first.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
that's a great point. That's a lot along the lines of the same as what I was going to say, is that be clear in what you are looking for. So it's kind of a different way of saying have focus, but really take those steps to really know, do the data gathering of figure out what you're good at, how other people see you, and be clear about what you're going for. And my main point related to that is to ask people for help. I have historically been really bad at that, because I'm very independent. I am pretty private. I don't like to tell other people. I don't want to have people all up in my business asking me what I'm doing and all of that. I would rather, I have that approach of I would rather just do it myself. But I've learned as I've gone through the career search process several times, or job search process several times, it's really helpful to ask people and to ask for that help, even just in the ways of getting support and having that sort of community mentality, that you have other people that you're going through it with, rather than it's really isolating otherwise. So that would be my ask people and be clear.
So Mac, I'm a person with lots of ideas and opinions about things, and never really shy about sharing those.
So you can't limit yourself to one? Or
I'm going to limit myself to 2
advice?
here.
Okay.
And I consider that quite an accomplishment for me. So my first one is really strategic, which is always write a cover letter. Even if the employer doesn't ask for a cover letter, even if you don't think you need one, write a cover letter. Because I think the biggest challenge when you're applying for a job is proving to the organization that you really want this job, right? And that's hard to do when you are writing out a resume, because resumes are kind of static and rigid. But in a cover letter, that's your opportunity to make it slap in the forehead obvious that you really want this job, and to make it clear how your skills and how your history, your career history, are leading you into this opportunity. And I think if you can do a really good job with that in your cover letter, you're going to do so much better about getting your foot in the door and having that interview. And I can't tell you how many really impressive resumes I've seen when we've been hiring, but then it's not clear to me at all why the person actually wants the job that I'm hiring for that day. And the person who makes it clear always has the leg up, because I know they want to be there. It's clear.
So that's number one, and I love that, because I think sometimes people treat cover letters as an afterthought, or they use a generic cover letter, and it's a lost opportunity when they do that, isn't it, Ben?
Absolutely. This is free advertising space that they're offering up to you. And so take it. Even if they don't say they want a cover letter, put one in there, because I think it's just so important. The second one, and this is for people who have jobs or people who are about to get jobs, which I believe is probably everyone listening to this show, pay it forward. So I think there's this tendency that once you find a job, you forget about how awful looking for work can be. Like, we all know it's bad, but we don't remember how really, truly awfully bad it is until you're stuck in the middle of it. And then you're like, oh man, why didn't I put myself in a better position to avoid this? So when I say pay it forward, one is like, make career development part of your ongoing life so that you're always putting yourself in the best possible position when you need to look for work again. But also practice a little empathy towards people who are looking for work. And like, everyone has something that they can contribute and help other people out with. You know people who might be a great contact for someone else. And just practice a little bit of kindness and empathy and paying it forward to those folks who are still looking for their dream job, so you can help them reach their goals. And if you're the person who can help someone do that, they will remember that and be thankful for that and be in your debt forever. So I encourage everyone to do that.
Great
just
advice.
that community aspect, right? Like, everyone helping everyone is going to make the whole of work better when it doesn't feel so isolating and when it doesn't feel like you're the only one doing this and no one's going to help you. Like, same to Jessica's point about like talking to people and asking for help. Like, I feel like a lot of it is like, you're sitting there listening to this podcast and you're resonating with all of this, but like, what do I do, right? So like, go talk to somebody. Like, it's okay. Like, let your pride down a little bit and just like relate to people. Talk about the hard stuff.
And if you're fortunate enough to have a job that you like or a job that other people might find interesting, like, you're not threatening your own position by going out there and offering to help people find their own dream jobs.
Yeah, it's not like it's a secret, like what you did or whatever.
Exactly, and you can, and all boats can rise together. Mm-hmm. And so I really encourage people to help each other out because, again, looking for work sucks.
It does, and as you all have talked, each of you, I think, has touched on one of the points I wanted to make, which was the importance of generosity. Mm-hmm. And Jessica, you brought this up when, mentioning how hard it was for you personally. And for many of us, we struggle with asking for help. And Ben, you touched on this, talking about pay it forward and the importance of doing that, and asking for help, Becky. When I think about people's careers and their personal lives, but their professional lives too, people I see who are most generous are the ones who get the most satisfaction and ultimately have the most personal and professional success. A few episodes ago, we chatted with a guest who talked about networking and how to take the ick factor out of it. And she told the story of somebody she described as the most networked man in Silicon Valley. I don't think she shared his name, but she said what he did every day was spend about 10 minutes doing a favor for someone, making an introduction, making a connection, responding to a request for an informational interview. And he did that because it made him feel good, but it also benefited the community and it helped him both personally and professionally as well. So when I think about a tactical piece of advice, I love that. Spend 10 or 15 minutes every day doing a favor for somebody else. And give without any expectation of giving in return. Mm-hmm. And following your lead, Ben, if I get 2 bites of the apple, I would just say, and this won't surprise anyone listening to the show, doing this has reinforced for me, just as you've got to get good at different skills in life, whether it's parenting or financial literacy or you got to get good at job hunting. And you don't have to do it all the time, but you do have to invest during the course of your career in learning job hunting as a skill. Mm-hmm. And there's so many good people out there doing it and or teaching it, and so many resources available to us. Mm-hmm. So those are
so many of them have been guests on this podcast.
I know, and I'm appreciative of all of them sharing their time and their expertise because we don't pay our guests, mm-hmm. And we do ask people to do pre-interviews and spend some time preparing for the show. So they're not just calling in from a roadside rest stop and
we make sure that they don't.
Actually, that did happen one time.
Did that?
They tried to.
Didn't she park her car because she was on like a road trip? She had to get somewhere to see her mom or something?
All right. Well, no names.
No names, but I remember that happened where she was like, I'm parked in my car, I pulled over, and it's
I do
pretty
remember
quiet.
that,
All the windows
yeah.
are rolled up. Yeah, that happened one time.
I
Yeah,
think there
no,
was an illness in the family.
Yeah.
So we allowed
It
that.
does. It does happen.
Because life happens too.
Yeah.
It
Life
does.
happens.
It
Yeah.
does happen, but we've also encouraged other people who have tried
Tried
to do
to
that
be
on a
like,
regular basis to
I'm just
not
in
do that.
traffic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's great. Anything else you four want to add?
It's been a really fun time.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you all around the table for all your good work on the podcast these last 3 years. I'm grateful for all your good work. And obviously, you're not going anywhere. You're going to continue to be part of the Max List team and serve our listeners and readers and continue to provide terrific resources to help people find their dream jobs. The show's format will change starting with the coming Wednesday. We're going to move to an interview-only format. I'll continue to talk to national career experts about job hunting techniques. And once a month, we will continue our interviews with successful job seekers. So please join us next Wednesday when our special guest will be Jessica Hernandez. She'll talk about signs that it's time to leave your job. Until next time, thanks for letting us help you find your dream job.